Name the relationship for each angle diagram. So we know that complementary are angles that form a right angle. Linear pair is a pair of angles that form a line. Supplementary are two angles that add up to 180. Vertical are angles that are across from each other. And adjacent just means that they're beside each other and they share a common side. Now, all of these words also tell me about the measurement except adjacent. Like number 1, these are adjacent angles, but I do not know their measurement. They do not add up to 90 because I don't have the 90-degree symbol, and they do not add up to 180 because it's not a straight line. It's an obtuse angle. So I know that they add up to a measurement greater than 90, but I don't know what that is. Whereas on number 2, I know that angle A and angle B add up to 180 because they are a linear pair. They're a pair of angles that form this line. Together, angle A and angle B, when I trace them, they make a semicircle. Together, they form this line. So that's a linear pair. They add up to 180. You could also use the word supplementary. Angles number 3, A and B are beside each other. They share a common side. When I trace A and I trace B, I'm tracing one side in common, but they do not form a straight line, so they're just adjacent. Notice that angle 4 has that right angle symbol. That should be your clue that those two angles together add up to 90. They are adjacent because they're beside each other, and they're complementary because they form a 90-degree angle. You'll notice that number 6 is the same thing, adjacent and complementary. So those two diagrams are the same, just turned a different way. Whereas number 5 does not have that right angle symbol, and it does not form a straight line. So they're not complementary, they're not supplementary, they're just adjacent. Number 7, these are angles that are across from each other, which means they are vertical. Vertical angles are across from each other and have the same measurement. 8, these two are beside each other, so they're adjacent, but they do not add up to 90 because they don't have the right angle symbol. They do not form a straight line, so they are not supplementary. Whereas number 9, these two angles make that straight line, so they are supplementary, and they are a linear pair, and they are adjacent. 10, they are adjacent, but they do not form a line. They do not form 90 degrees, so that's all we can say about them. They're adjacent. 11, across from each other, they're equal, they're vertical angles. Let's move on and determine how we can use those angle relationships to find missing angle measurements. So in number 1, we should identify that these two angles are across from each other. They're vertical angles, so the measure of angle B is 63 degrees. Whereas number 2, they are beside each other. They form a line, which means they add up to 180 degrees. So B plus 150 has to equal 180. So if we subtract 150 from 180, we'll get that B is 30 degrees because 30 plus 150 add up to 180. Number 3, they're not across from each other. They are beside each other. These two angles form a straight line, which means they add up to 180. So I have to figure out how much out of 180 is left over for B. So I'm going to subtract 89 from 180. and get B is equal to 91 degrees. Number 4, they are across from each other when two lines intersect. So that means they're vertical angles. They have equal measurements. So B is equal to 86 degrees. Number 5, B, 58, and that 90-degree angle all form this straight line. So those 3 angles add up to 180. One of them is 90 degrees. One of them is 58, and one of them is B. So if we take out the 90 from 180, subtract the 90 from 180, we know that the 2 angles have to add up to 90. And then if we take out the 58, we're left with 22 degrees for angle B. And the last one, those 2 angles are beside each other. They form a line. Therefore, they add up to 180. So I'm going to take 108 away from 180 to be left with the value of B as 72 degrees. Thank you for watching.